What I want to show here is just how I laid out this half-acre field or plot that I was given to do the experiment in. And there were a couple of goals I had, as I wanted to do both the maize and beans together, and then I also added squash and melons that grow in between. But I also wanted to integrate the possibility for the chickens, and I've talked about chicken tractors where you can raise anywhere from 20 to 30 meat chickens or broiler chickens in one thing. So I decided, you already know the direction of this field, that's the north to the top, we're on the east side, over there is the west, and I laid out strips that would be planting strips, and then a space that would be a grazing or a portion for the chickens and the chicken tractors, and then another portion of maize and beans. Now I decided to make these planting strips and all go east to west. I just thought, one, it might utilize the sun well, and secondly, I thought if I did have a lot of rain and if water were to drain from the highest portion down to the lowest, then it may be slowed up with the strips being east to west or going across the downhill slope. So that's why I did this. On these planting strips, there's various widths of being able to plant your maize and beans together. I chose a portion here that's a little less than 2 meters wide, and then I put three rows of the maize and beans in there. It may be a little narrower than someone might if they're planting a whole field in just maize and beans. You might end up having it wider so you can walk through or whatever. But that is an advantage, and that still gets me this. I don't lose the number of rows for this half acre as much when I do them closer together and then have it interspersed with a wider section of grass that I'll do the chickens on. So that was interesting. You can do the math on that and kind of figure out the distances you want to use. So in between here is over 2 meters, and that's because I know that I want to make my chicken tractor usually around 1 meter to 1.5 meters wide. So it's going to be able to go up and down these grass strips well. And in fact, this distance is such that I can make 10 moves in each grass strip for my chickens. Now the reason being is because we know that chickens, meat chickens, people really like. They can be sold to schools. We can use them in our pastor's training program for when our students come together and provide them some nice food. So that's why I'm thinking in that way. There is also a way that a person can, I've seen this, to build a metal, more of a larger cage with some mesh wire, and you could have 2 or 3 sheep in here and do the same principle of moving it, putting wheels on the back and just moving that cage that's light enough to move throughout these rows. That way the sheep won't eat your crops, but they'll be providing manure and eating the grass and grazing through this section. So that's the reason I laid this out, is to be able to what we call stack our enterprises, meaning one enterprise is the maize and beans for a cash crop. The other enterprise are the chickens, possibly even a small animals like sheep that would be going in between, and that's another enterprise that we can use. So that's why I've laid this half acre out in the way I have.